So I enjoy these conversations. I was just recently asked about my belief in marriage. And what a lot of people don't get is monogamy is a Greek and Roman thing. And if you know anything about our bloodline, picking up the beliefs and practices of other nations, heathen nations, has been our downfall and the corruption of marriage in itself. Even when it tries to put this false claim where it said, oh, to control property and ensure lineage. No, that's not true. What happened is Greeks and Romans, they pushed this type of marriage on the slave class, which was the class that they conquered, which was our people. What is another funny thing is they try to say it was often for the wealthy and elite. Technically, yes, we were the elite and the wealthy at the time, but this is also another lie, because if you were to build a household where you have land, which would actually make you wealthy technically, but if you actually had somebody with more helpmates, right, it's easier to get to the class of wealth, because this is one of the reasons why they designed marriage like that in the West. And it even says that in Western society, Christianity, right? And so if you understand the disconnect between being actual Israelite, actual Hebrew, and living the way of your forefathers, and understanding how time is changing and how this monogamy is the reason why there's high rates of divorce, high rates of adultery, infidelity. All of this is because the degenerate people are being fruitful and multiplying, right? Because they don't practice monogamy. Whenever you see a rapper having 20 baby mamas, that's not practicing monogamy. Whenever you see politicians having multiple wives, ex-wives and stuff, that's not practicing monogamy. Whenever you see women who have had multiple sex partners, that's not practicing monogamy. And so what people don't get is marriage was never a tool to say, oh, well, this is the way that you have access to intimacy. That's what the West turned this into. And so because the West corrupted the normal means of marriage and things of that nature, you also have women who suffer in multiple ways. You don't have anybody that connects with you on the same wavelength. You have less help around the house, all because of envy, jealousy, greed, and all these other things in a monogamous relationship. When it comes to the purpose of having polygyny, it's so that the proper etiquette, morality, and practices gets passed down to people of the same bloodline. And so this is why you have one head of the household, because for one, there's not that many men in comparison to women, but also because not only is this the most highest way of doing things, but what people don't understand is this entire setup is all based upon the law of the scripture and what's practical and makes sense, right? Because genetically, even at a physical level, men can keep having babies while their woman is pregnant. And there's a reason. Whenever people try to go against nature and go against the laws, this is why everything is out of balance and everything is corrupt. A lot of people try to twist this to being, a man wants to have a bunch of sex with a bunch of women. And that's really a big lie, because most men, yes, we enjoy other women, but the whole point of that was because that was written in our DNA to be fruitful and multiply. It's also written in our DNA to want to lead, to want to help. So whenever we see a woman that has potential, You don't ever see them as potential of, oh, let me go find another man to give her to. That's like, that doesn't make any sense. That's why men are supposed to have people under them. And even if it's not somebody that they're intimate with, even in the past, you used to have it where, because women weren't so jealous and hateful, that you would be able to mentor a young woman in order for her to be able to be marriage material. She might not have a father around, and the community wasn't so weird where any type of interaction with a married man was taboo, because that's against scripture to, for one, be envious, jealous, greedy, and all of these things. And monogamy was never set up for us. Whenever you talk about Christianity is a enslavement system that literally came with the conquering of our people and the corruption of our word. Nowhere in the scripture does it say to have one man and one woman unless you're a bishop. And that's because their attention would be spread between the church and their wives. And so in order to keep focus on the church, they have it set up like that. But for every other man, his goal should be to be fruitful and multiply and bring people of quality into this planet. But now we're in a system where only the degenerate people are multiplying, and everyone else is forced into a slavery system where it's a lie to say, oh, you have to be rich to be polygynous. You have to be this to be polygynous. But if we understand that scripture it states that this is not our rest, and that we're supposed to follow scripture and follow the Most High before we follow man, people don't get this. And this is why we get lost with all of this stuff. And this is why future prophecy plays out a certain way. So if you understand the book of Jeremiah, most of these are future prophecies. This is why even inside of the book of Jeremiah, it says, ask for the old paths where is a good way, and you'll find rest for your souls. But they said we will not walk therein. And this is exactly how modern society is, and mostly the modern woman, because what she doesn't understand is she has more help around the house. There is no jealousy. Your children are able to grow up with children who are not going to bully and hate them. They're not going to abuse them, do weird stuff to them, not be raised by other evil people. And so you have a self-sustaining system when you actually have multiple wives, and a system where, okay, they can all help each other. Somebody can teach the kids something. The thing is that now everything is divvied out in front of the house. So now that you don't need to go outside and get outside influences and corruption, etc. And this is why it's a closed system whenever you live the correct way and righteously. Because as I said before, no one's going to go out trying to collect a bunch of women for sex if they are taken care of and living scripturally. In the scripture, it specifically says that you're supposed to take care of each other's needs. So that whole thing is a lie in itself, and it's just a way for a lot of women to manipulate marriages and try to run off with divorce money and all this other stuff. This is exactly why this keeps a lot of that from happening. When you aren't trying to compete every single second of every single day as a woman with every other woman in your life, it opens the door for a lot of blessings to come in. There's many people that do things that we don't do as a couple, right? And so that expands the potential of the family, each member that's added. And most of the time, especially if you're dealing with a man of scripture and the faith, they're not going to go looking for vain things and things of that nature. So you would be essentially making your team stronger, meaning your family unit, etc. And if you understand anything about end time, it literally tells you about this. This will be the only way to really survive in this society, because as the economy goes down further, if you don't have more hands on deck, how do you think you're going to make it? And many times, many women will never get accepted, because if you have to stick with one, are you woman enough to handle all of these different roles and positions? And a lot of times that's not possible. And so this is why people try to lie and say scripture says to have one wife, because because one wife turned Solomon away. That's a lie, because the scripture would have specifically said, this is why I told you to have one wife. It doesn't say that anywhere. This is why David was told, hey, if you wanted more wives, I would have gave them to you. This is the reason why the 12 tribes didn't come from one woman. This is the reason why so many times in the scripture, women aren't even focused on, because they never was at a way of needing or yearning for intimacy, attention, and needing more help around their house. This is the reason why all of these things, when you do it to the correct purpose, it all plays out, not only because of that's what the Most High says, but it also plays out in your favor, because everybody at this point is on one accord, one understanding. And as I said before, imagine that you would never need to be taken care of when you're older. How many sons will be in that household? How many daughters will be in this household? This is the reason why everybody's lonely, everybody is tired, everybody's overworked. Imagine in this society if we were still playing by these same rules, but with monogamy not being in the picture. Imagine if there was 2 or more people always out of the house working, and there was always 2 or more people at the house. And I'm talking about not only sister wives, but I'm talking about you're able to comfortably have more children, because at this point you'd also have kids that would be able to help you raise the next generation after that. And so it's until people get serious about the scripture, they'll never understand these concepts, and they'll continue to twist scripture. A lot of these individuals who don't believe the Bible, and they believe a religious, I would say it like this. These people that label themselves Christians, the reason why they will never understand true scripture is because under the label of Christianity, they promote monogamy, because that is the concept in all of these other corrupt beliefs that are tied into Christianity, including pandering to Catholicism and all of these other things that are other practices that are not of scripture. So this is why it's very easy to see where marriage was corrupted and where it continues to be corrupted, because it's not about what you want, it's about what the Most High wants and how he designed things to be. This is why he refers to his men, especially of Judah, as lions many of times. They don't have one wife. This is why when it talks about Christ coming for the virgins, it doesn't say one. That would be this is why when it talks about his bride, it's never one. This is why when he took Eve out of Adam's ribs, he didn't take her out of something he had one of. You have 8 ribs. I might be wrong with that. You have more than one rib. I'm gonna say it like that. My whole point is it's very, very apparent, and it is constantly repeated over and over again. So people are going to continue to suffer under the false beliefs and not being educated in actual scripture, and understanding that the Most High makes everything for our benefit. And when you think of this and you pervert it, meaning that you try to turn this into something it's not, this is why people will continue to suffer under this type of system. Because in the system of multiplication, in the system of polygyny, you don't have to go out to get food. You don't have to spend time here and then split your time there. You could have your own, you can create your own water sources, you can create your own clothing, you can create your own school, you can create a few businesses. When you understand these concepts, you start recognizing that there's 100% truth in the scripture. And once you start following the scripture, you fine-tune your faith and you fine-tune yourself. And so many people are not going to accept this. Many people are going to continue doing what they're doing. But that's why there's only going to be a remnant. And that's why there's going to be only the people who follow scripture that are going to be benefiting from living correctly under the scriptures and the laws.